Here is a question. Who is the greatest Winter Olympian of all time? Most people would guess someone from figure skating. Maybe a speed skater. Maybe a biathlete. Most Americans would probably say someone they grew up watching on NBC during the Olympics. Someone whose name they know. Someone who got the cereal box and the late-night talk show appearances and the sponsorship deals. The answer is a 29-year-old Norwegian man named Johannes Høsflot Klæbo. And 3 weeks ago at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan, he did something that no human being in the entire history of the Winter Games had ever done before. He entered 6 events. He won all 6. 6 gold medals. At 1 Olympics. In 1 sport. Without losing a single race. He now has 11 Olympic gold medals total. Second only to Michael Phelps in the entire history of the Olympic movement across both Summer and Winter Games going back to 1896. He is the most decorated Winter Olympian who has ever lived. And depending on where you are in the world, there is a very real chance you are hearing his name for the first time right now. This is the full story of Johannes Klæbo. And if you are not paying attention to it, you are missing one of the most extraordinary individual performances in the history of sport. Let us start with the record he broke because the context around it makes the achievement even more staggering. Before February 21, 2026, the record for most gold medals won by a single athlete at a single Winter Olympics was 5. It had been set in 1980 at Lake Placid, New York, by an American speed skater named Heiden. If you are of a certain age, that name hits differently. Heiden is one of the most celebrated American Olympic athletes in history. He dominated speed skating at those 1980 games in a way that the sport had never seen before and has never seen since. 5 gold medals. 5 different events. A record so dominant that it stood for 46 years. 46 years. Every Winter Olympics from 1980 through 2022. Every single games in between. Nobody got to 5 at a single games. Nobody touched it. Until February 21, 2026 in the Val di Fiemme Valley in northern Italy, when Johannes Klæbo crossed the finish line of the men's 50-kilometer mass start cross-country race and became the first human being in Winter Olympic history to win 6 gold medals at a single games. He broke a 46-year-old record that most people watching the Olympics did not even know existed. In a sport that most casual sports fans in America and much of the English-speaking world pay almost no attention to outside of 2 weeks every 4 years. On a mountain in Italy in February. And after he crossed the line, he sat down in the snow, hunched over, staring into the ground, before standing up to congratulate his teammates. He was not performing. He was just feeling it. All of it. At once. Now here is the thing that makes this story genuinely different from a simple greatest of all time narrative. Because the numbers alone are extraordinary, but the path to those numbers is what makes this actually worth telling. Johannes Klæbo was born in Oslo in 1996 and grew up in Trondheim, Norway. He got his first pair of skis at age 2. His grandfather Kær Høsflot put them on his feet. The same grandfather who would later become his coach. Who would spend decades building a training plan around his grandson with a patience and a long-term vision that almost nobody outside elite sport would recognize as a blueprint for greatness when they were living through it. At 15, Klaebo was too small to beat the boys his own age in skiing. Even in Norway, one of the most competitive cross-country skiing environments on earth, he was getting outmuscled and outpaced by kids who had more physical development than he did at that age. His mother told The Athletic about what happened next. They decided to put a lot of focus on technique because they knew that someday he would grow up and get muscles. They were not training the 15-year-old version of Johannes Klæbo. They were building the 25-year-old version. The 30-year-old version. Laying technique foundations so deep that when the physical maturity finally arrived, the technical excellence was already there waiting for it. That decision, made by a grandfather and a family when a kid was too small to win races, is the foundation of everything that happened in Milan 3 weeks ago. He burst onto the world stage at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. He was 21 years old. He won 3 gold medals at his very first Olympics. Sprint, relay, team sprint. He became the youngest male cross-country skier in history to win an Olympic event. 3 gold medals in your Olympic debut. At 21. In a sport where most athletes do not reach their peak until their mid to late 20s. The skiing world sat up and paid attention. Norway held a national celebration. And then he just kept going. He won the overall World Cup the same year, becoming the youngest man in history to win it. He won the Tour de Ski. He won world championships. He kept accumulating wins at a rate the sport had never produced. His World Cup sprint victories became so consistent that a rival Swiss skier was once asked what the best strategy was for beating Klæbo. His answer was maybe break his poles or something, I do not know. But here is the thing that the career highlight reel hides. Klæbo's story is not one of unbroken dominance from age 21 onward. It is a story of someone who had to rebuild himself multiple times. Who ran into real walls and had to figure out how to get through them. And who almost did not show up in Milan at all. At the 2022 Beijing Olympics, Klæbo was already a 2-time Olympic gold medalist from 2018. He won 2 more medals at Beijing. But he did not win the distance events. The skiathlon, the 50-kilometer race, the longer formats that demand a different kind of fitness than his sprint background had built. In the skiathlon at Beijing he placed 40th. Not a typo. 40th. The greatest sprinter in the history of cross-country skiing, 40th in the endurance event at the Olympics. He knew the gap. He knew what he did not have. And instead of avoiding it, instead of building an identity around what he was already brilliant at, he spent the next 4 years specifically building what he lacked. High-altitude training blocks. Endurance work that did not come naturally to a body trained for explosive sprint finishes. Stamina building that his grandfather had been laying the groundwork for since Johannes was 15 and too small to beat the boys his age in Trondheim. By 2025 it was working. He won all 6 events at the World Championships in Trondheim, his home city. Every event. Sprint and distance and everything in between. The most complete cross-country ski racer the sport had ever produced. And then after Trondheim something unexpected happened. His father Håkon, who was also his manager, revealed what happened in the weeks after the World Championships. He said Johannes turned to me and said I am done. He was finished. Mentally and physically emptied out by the effort of winning everything at the World Championships on home snow with the entire country watching. He had given everything he had and the tank was empty and he told his father he was done. He was 28 years old. He had 5 Olympic gold medals. He had nothing left to give. Sound familiar? There is a parallel here to Alyssa Liu stepping back from skating at 16 after her first wave of dominance had emptied her out. The specific sport is different and the ages are different and the circumstances are different. But the core dynamic is the same. A person who has been operating at the absolute limits of what a human body and mind can produce, who hits the wall. Who says I cannot do this anymore? What happened next with Klæbo is what his father described as the product of happiness. He reset. He found balance. He remembered why he loved the sport in the first place. He came back not as someone grinding through obligation but as someone who had chosen this again after having the space to choose something else. His father said he thinks he is better this year than he was last year. Better after almost quitting. Better after the reset. Better because he came back free. The same word Alyssa Liu uses to describe her comeback. The same transformation. Joy as the engine of peak performance. Freedom as the foundation of greatness. And then came Milan. February 8, 2026. The men's 10-kilometer plus 10-kilometer skiathlon. Klaebo won. Gold number 1. February 10th. The men's individual sprint. His natural event. His home ground. won it going away. Gold number 2. February 13th. The men's 10-kilometer freestyle interval start. A format he had never won at the Olympics before. The specific event that exposed him in Beijing. He won it. Gold number 3. And with that gold he passed the previous Winter Olympics all-time record for career gold medals. February 15th. The men's 4x 7.5-kilometer relay. He ran the final leg. Norway won by 22 seconds. Gold number 4. February 19th. The men's team sprint. Norway won again. Gold number 5. He was now tied with Eric Heiden's 46-year-old single games record. February 21st. The men's 50-kilometer mass start classic. The longest, most grueling event in cross-country skiing. 31 miles across mountain terrain. Over 2 hours of racing at an intensity most humans cannot sustain for 10 minutes. He broke clear of the field with 2 Norwegian teammates in the final kilometers, the 3 of them sweeping the podium in a Norway 1-2-3. He crossed the line first. Gold number 6. 6 events. 6 wins. The record gone. History made. And then he sat down in the snow and stared at the ground. And felt all of it at once. The reactions from the people who watched it up close are worth sitting with because they tell you something about the scale of what just happened. Gus Schumacher is an American cross-country skier who won a silver medal at these games. He stood at the finish line after Klæbo's 6th win and said he does not really feel like there is another athlete in the world that can compare to that scope of athleticism. He said it is really insane. This is not a fan in the crowd. This is a world-class athlete who competes against him. Anders Byström is a coach from Sweden. Norway's rival. The country that wants to beat Norway more than anyone. He said after the 6th gold that they have never seen a better athlete on skis than him. Not pretty sure. Really certain. Jostian Vinjerui coaches the United Kingdom's cross-country ski team at the Olympics. He said Klæbo has skills and technique and all these other things that no one has. The people who compete against him and coach against him are not hedging. They are using absolute language. Never seen. No one else. Really certain. That kind of consensus from rivals is almost never heard in elite sport. Athletes and coaches are trained to always leave room. Klæbo's performance in Milan closed that room entirely. Here is the number that puts everything in context one more time because it deserves to land properly. 11 Olympic gold medals. That is where Johannes Klæbo sits after Milan. 11 Winter Olympic gold medals. The most any Winter Olympian has ever won in history. He is 29 years old. His body is healthy. His grandfather is still his coach. His father is still his manager. He came back from nearly quitting last year better than he has ever been. The only person above him in the all-time Olympic gold medal list across summer and winter games combined is Michael Phelps with 23. Phelps competed in 5 Olympics over 20 years. Klæbo has competed in 3. He has 12 years until the age Phelps won his final gold medal. Nobody is saying he catches Phelps. That would require things that are genuinely impossible to project. But the fact that the conversation can even exist, that a cross-country skier from Norway is being discussed in the same sentence as the most decorated Olympian in human history, tells you everything you need to know about what just happened in the mountains of northern Italy this February. The 2026 Winter Olympics are over. The closing ceremony happened. The athletes flew home. And somewhere in Trondheim, Norway, a 29-year-old man who almost quit last year, who was too small to beat boys his age at 15, whose grandfather put skis on his feet at age 2 and spent the next 27 years building a champion with patience and technique and love, is sitting with 6 gold medals from 1 Olympics and a record that nobody will ever touch. You know his name now.